Luca, and this is my presentation on if ESG reporting should be mandatory alongside financial reporting. My name is Luca, as I said. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I go to Jesuit High School. I am a senior there, and I am an aspiring finance major. And the reason I chose ESG in my project is because it connected finance with the relevant topic today, which are the two things that I really wanted to do with this project. So here's just a little bit of overview about ESG. ESG includes environmental, social, and governance, which are the three pillars. ESG has definitely been increasingly discussed due to climate change, energy disputes, pollution, and diversity. And many people believe that companies should start reporting ESG, as it'll increase their financials, and it will create just a better representation for the company, as well as just the social state of the world and the environmental state of the world. And debates have been going on with ESG if they should be mandatory alongside financial statements. So here are the three pillars of ESG. Environmental basically just includes the sustainability of a company, the long-term impact on how it affects the planet. This is really focusing on energy consumption, their carbon footprint, pollution, their waste, what type of resources they use, how efficient they are using those resources. An example of this is how focused they are on their climate change efforts, and if they're cutting back on their waste or energy consumption to help the environment. For social, this is just including the well-being of the workers, the culture within the organization or whatever company employees are working within. This can include safety, security, whether they have access to healthcare, how good their relationships are with their fellow workers, and just how good of an environment the workplace is for them to maximize profitization, increase shareholder value, increase performance. And governance is focused on the CEOs, the boards, the management, and the stakeholders of a company. This is pretty much focused on the leaders of the company, how well they are running the company in order to have a good environmental impact and a social impact. So these are the scoring mechanics for ESG and financial requirements. ESG is a little murky because there's not a single way of rating ESG. There are many different, not companies, they're agencies that rate different companies on ESG. The most popular one being MSCI, which rates them on a scale of AAA to CCC. They have their 10 themes that they use to assess their companies, kind of each within the categories of environment, social, and governance, and they use a weighted average of those subcategories to determine a final full rating on their scale. If they have a very high rating, they will be on the AAA scale. If they have very low, they'll be C or CCC, scores like that. And these scoring ranges widely across all these agencies. Some have a high rating for one agency and a low for the other. There's a big inconsistency, which is one of the major problems in ESG and whether they should be mandatorily reported. The financial requirements for companies are the basic quarterly and annual financial reportings, which includes profits, losses, expenditures, just everything financed within the company. And both of these are aimed to help investors gain long-term effects of the company and how well they are going to do in the future. The financial impacts of ESG on companies is something that isn't widely talked about. If ESG reporting was mandatory, it would increase the cost of a company. They would have new hires. They would have to shift their budget to afford these type of things. This is also going to cause companies to have way more of a eye for environment, social, and governance, which is going to make them flow a bunch of money and a bunch of capital into that, which is going to lower the how much product they're putting out, the quality. Maybe the workers are going to have to put in more hours because they're not going to have as many workers. There's going to be a lot of layoffs. Some of the positives, though, include there's going to be more diversity, compliance in the company, employee retention should be higher, and just sustainability benefits long term for the company and for the environment and the planet. ESG done right definitely leads to longevity, investor confidence, productivity within the company, but there is also a big danger with companies over prioritizing ESG, which will take away from the actual main point of their company, which will definitely make the shareholders very angry with the company. Here are some greenwashing and scandals that ESG that has happened within ESG. Greenwashing is basically just faking ESG ratings to have a better outlook on the company. Some of the famous ones are Volkswagen, which is the most famous one. Overall, they were fined over $34 billion as they installed fake software in their vehicles and their new products to give false data, which they promised would happen. Originally, they gave a benchmark for the emissions that each of their vehicles would give out, and they weren't able to do that, so they faked their data. Toyota did similar thing, not on big of a scale, but they were also fined $180 million because of their false information. Goldman Sachs has also done a similar thing, which has misled investors with false ESG claims, so they would invest in the company. So all of these three things are probably the most common greenwashing scandals across all scandals, and this kind of supports the idea without fact checking, mandatory ESG reporting can lead to a lot of misinformation, and maybe originally people that would think that ESG mandatory reporting would increase the validity of companies and how well they're going to do in the future. It could also provide more misinformation and fraud within companies, leading investors to lose more money. So that is something you have to weigh in when talking about whether ESG should be mandatorily reported. Here are the fiduciary duties company leaders have to shareholders and stakeholders. Specifically for shareholders, they are focused on specifically the financial side of the company. They have money in the company. They really could rely on this company to do well or not do well. And company leaders have this duty to maximize the shareholder value, increase investor capital, focus on just profit maximization, not necessarily ESG priorities. In terms of stakeholders, they kind of have a different view. These are employees, customers, the society as a whole, and even the planet, as they all can reap the benefits of the company. The responsibilities a company has to stakeholders includes philanthropy, environmental protection, and other social contributions to society. One major corporation that companies are a part of that really kind of puts them in this social environmental commitment category is B Corp, where companies can join this corporation and have these show that they are providing benefits for the social and environmental state of the world. And stakeholders definitely do believe that ESG reporting has a very good societal impact, way more than of shareholders, as they are only focused mainly on the finance, with some exceptions. ESG in business today, historically companies haven't really focused on ESG metrics, but today it's definitely ramping up. Many investors that haven't cared about ESG in the past are starting to highly value it, but still the ratio of investors that don't care about ESG as much is way higher than the ones who highly value it, which is why companies aren't prioritizing ESG, because they are mainly focused on the investors and shareholders of the company. I believe there is no clear-cut evidence whether ESG should or should not be required, but if I had to make a call based on my judgment, I would say as of now, no, there is no evidence that there should be mandatory ESG reporting, as there's been many greenwashing scandals. Companies could be losing a lot of money as they're going to be focusing on these ESG scores way more, taking away from their products and what they put out and how the quality of everything. Just as well as there's not enough as a demand to have ESG reporting, as most investors, although they may look at it, they're mainly focused on the financial reportings and what is put out right now. So ESG is pretty unlikely to be mandatorily reported as of now, due to the cost and the resistance from many shareholders and companies. And there could be a future where ESG reporting definitely has some merit and should be mandatorily reported, but as of now, there's not enough evidence that it should be reported. Thank you. That is my presentation. Thank you.